I think that maybe they've seen, like an asteroid, how we can predict when it may arrive and when it will cross paths with us through its trajectory, yada, yada, yada. And I think they may have noticed something with the Hubble, couldn't make it out all the way, designed the James Webb to be able to do so and put it up there. Now they have confirmed that this thing is intelligently controlled and that it's on its way this way. And it's not just the 20 diameter thing. This thing's probably the size of Texas. That's my guess. I'm just playing around with some theory here. But and that is what is launched this real, because everybody from Joe Rogan to the average person is asking why now? Why now?
Yeah. Look, it's an interesting point, and it kind of have you ever seen that movie Deep Impact with more? So they talk about ELE, extension level event, and that in the film there were people within the government and the defense that knew something was coming, this massive asteroid. So is it plausible that Hubble and James Webb have picked something up in distant space that is anomalous? Or look what happened only in the last couple of days. There's a gentleman on YouTube. He goes by his channel, I think he goes by Professor Simon, and
the SETI thing.
Yeah, so he's he's had someone from within SETI, and I'm only retelling what he said on his channel, but he's had a source reach out to him and say that SETI has picked up some pretty compelling new WOW signals that Doppler shift data, blue shift, red shift, and you can look at his channel, Professor Simon, if you want to watch these 2 videos he's done where he talks about it.
Yeah, I'll link them in the description below.
It's a really fascinating, interesting what he's talking about, because he's saying that
give us the clip.
He's basically so he's basically saying that his source is now telling him, now whether it's BS, who knows, but I respect Professor Simon's content and the due diligence that he does. He puts out some really interesting stuff.
Yeah, he's rather skeptical.
He certainly is. He's very, but it was very interesting to see it come from him, that he's saying a source has told him that SETI has picked up some pretty significant, compelling new signals, that from these signals, some pretty interesting data can be extrapolated. And he talks about images can be extrapolated. So it's obviously the beginning of the beginning on this kind of bit of news. But it'll be very interesting to learn how that story progresses and advances. Is there something that is known about within the halls of SETI or within NASA that manned the James Webb and its predecessor, the Hubble? Is there something that folks within the scientific and community and government know that they're preparing to divulge to the general populace? If so, that would be a pretty momentous, and it begs the question: has there been this progressive drip feed of information to move to some form of disclosure on something? And has that been happening since 2017? Time will hopefully tell. But I mean, what an exciting time to be alive. I mean, I'm 45 years of age. My parents, they lived through only one UAP hearing in their lifetime. That was in the 50s or the 60s, or maybe one or two. And we've had 3 in only the last 3 years. So the conversation on this topic is only getting stronger, and like a small ball of snow that starts rolling down the hill, it's gathering speed, mass, size, traction. It's only going to get bigger, and I don't think there's any stopping this this train now on this topic.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I often wonder, right? Just because it's the drip feed thing, and it seems like not only in pop culture, but in your everyday life, right? It seems that this notion of us not being alone is, I mean, look at the Vatican. The Vatican came out and said they would baptize
Great point.
a non-human intelligence. I mean, the Vatican is also issued statements on
They've embraced the possibility of there being NHI. Yeah.
absolutely, and that we're all God, quote unquote, God's children. So I don't think it's coincidence, right? It doesn't feel coincidental. And what Grush talks about a deal, right? A deal that was struck, maybe, potentially, who knows? Now, if we look at that and we extrapolate, maybe not a deal that was handshake deal, but could it have been more like I don't really know how to describe it, but like an unspoken thing, and it's an unspoken thing that, I mean, the governments know that scout ships are here, and they have been since the 40s, and it's all been it's all been in lead up to this event that's about to take place. Like everything, timing wise, and that brings into the future human hypothesis. How did they know that we were going to get here, this to the atomic age, and why would they be on course? Did it have something to do with AI and unlocking AI? There's so many possibilities that start laying the groundwork. Could there be some sort of eternal have you seen the Marvel's Eternals?
I haven't. No, I haven't watched
No?
it.
So could there have been people here that blend in and are just not of this earth, and they stay out of everything, but they're watchers and they report back,
Yeah, right.
the
The
Black
zoo
Knight
hypothesis.
satellite. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The zoo hypothesis. And then the Black Knight satellite. So there are a lot of things that I think point to, I think in your lifetime, should you should we all both live long, healthy lives? I think in our lifetime, we'll absolutely see contact. I'm not talking, ladies and gentlemen, we are not alone. I'm talking full on contact.
Yeah.
And I think the public's been being braced for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've said, there are two things that I would love to see before I pass off this mortal coil of ours. That's one, humans to land on Mars, and two, for us to have a definitive answer, irrefutable evidence or conclusion as to what UAP are. And again, with everything that's been happening within the last 7 years, I mean, it feels like everything's. I mean, I've said this so many times. It's for those of us that are engaged on the topic and take it seriously and find it truly intriguing and fascinating and want answers. It's almost like a full-time job just to stay up to date with what's going on.
Oh my
on this
God,
topic,
yeah.
which is a complete. That's a far cry from where we were, 20, 30 years ago, folks that were interested in. I mean, back then you'd only really converse on the UFO topic at conferences or in chat rooms,
Or if a big event happened, like
or if
say
something,
the
or if
Phoenix
there is a
Lights,
big sighting or a case or something. So,
right?
we live in. I mean, we're privileged to live in a day and age where information
every day.
happens at the speed of a tweet. You and I can have these conversations from afar in real time and engage with other people that are take the topic seriously. So and that's why I think the UFO community is in a unique position where the legacy media is now done and dusted, in the sense that they're always trying to play catch up with what the late breaking news is on the UFO topic. It's folks in this community that are the John Greenwalds that are doing the FOIA requests, other folks that are doing their research or have sources, Ross Coulthart and others. They're putting this information out first before it even hits the legacy media. So I think you probably start to see more and more revelations come through boutique media, not just social media, but the small media outlets as well. That and News Nation, to their credit, they've kind of taken the bull by the horns and led the charge on reporting the UAP topic, and they're leaving everyone else behind in the dust that don't want to touch it still, which is so bizarre to me, that you would think that if you're the legacy media, like the ABC or NBC or one of the big stations in the States or one of the big papers, that
you got to be
the amount of public interest there is on this topic of UFO, it would be a no-brainer from a ratings perspective.
Can I tell you something?
Why would you not cover it?
So I have contacts so I did an internship at the news, and I have many contacts there at a news channel in Boston, and I pitched, literally straight up pitched a segment like once a week, nothing big, just because it's a big channel in Boston, in New England. People watch it. It would have a lot of eyes on it. Given the data of News 7 in Australia, given even a little bit of money and a platform, and the people will come, right? They may not be watching live on television, but your YouTube channels are gonna bump up, your online presence are gonna come up, right? And Boston, it's not New York City, right? There's not there's not stabbings every other night, right? It's not like that. So it's not like we have a ton of news or fun, engaging stories that the public has. And I just think, like, and I no answer, laughed out loud, basically. Zero answer, and this is from from someone that has given them stories, right? Has worked for free in their building, and they wouldn't even consider it. So it's weird.
And that's my big gripe with the Australian legacy media. I mean, we've got, there are a number of, breakfast shows here. There's an Australian version of the Today Show. There's a breakfast show on the 7 Network called Sunrise. And, to their credit, whenever something significant happens in the US on this topic, like when David Grush came forward, the ICIG had its SCIF meeting with members of the Congressional Oversight Committee. They cover those stories, but it's just copy and paste journalism. They just spit out the same stuff that's been talked about in the United States. They won't exercise a shred of journalistic due diligence on this topic and ask the question, well, hang on, our US ally is taking this topic very seriously from a national security threat and safety of flight risk perspective. What's Australia doing about UAPs? And why aren't they asking, those that we elect into positions of leadership in Australia and those in positions of authority in the Australian Department of Defence, why aren't those media outlets that are privileged in that they have a unique platform that reaches a huge audience, they're not even bothering to ask questions close to home about, well, why isn't Australia taking this topic seriously? And I've tried to engage the legacy media a number of times. I've called them out when they have not. I mean, a case in point, the Today Show, I think it was only a couple months back, they had, I mean, for God's